Good evening. This is Santa Claus bringing you the news on this January 20th, 2026, a day that reminds us of history and humanity's ongoing journey together. On this very day in 1778, James Cook first landed in Hawaii, beginning a chapter of cultural exchange that reminds us how our world has grown ever more connected across oceans and centuries. Tonight, my heart is heavy as I share news from the Holy Land, where Israeli forces have targeted United Nations facilities for Palestinian refugees in East Jerusalem. They've bulldozed UNRWA offices and fired tear gas at a vocational school, places meant to provide comfort and service to those most in need. As we've always known, the littlest ones and those without homes suffer most in times of conflict. May peace find its way to this troubled region that once cradled the birth of hope. Meanwhile, across the globe in Syria, government troops are advancing into areas held by Kurdish forces in the northeast. The Kurdish fighters have vowed to defend their remaining territories in what represents the largest shift in Syrian control since President Ahmed al-Sharaa came to power in 2024. In these trying times, I'm reminded how often the vulnerable find themselves caught in struggles for power. Now, turning our gaze to Iran, where authorities have issued an ultimatum to protesters who participated in what officials have termed riots, asking them to surrender within 3 days. The national police chief has promised leniency for young people who were deceived into joining. While the government speaks of forgiveness, we must remember the thousands who have reportedly suffered in the crackdown. May wisdom guide both the authorities and those seeking change. In Ukraine, our brothers and sisters continue to endure terrible hardship as Russia bombarded the country with over 300 drones and missiles, targeting the power grid. More than 5,600 apartment buildings in Kiev lost heating. Just imagine those families in the cold of winter. The Ukrainian foreign minister has called this a wake-up call to world leaders. Indeed, how can we sleep when our neighbors suffer so? Another troubling note, President Trump has declared no going back on his goal to control Greenland, causing great concern among our NATO allies. European leaders, including President Macron, have responded with calls for respect rather than what he termed bullying. President Trump has also criticized Britain's agreement to relinquish control of the Chagos Islands, calling it an act of great stupidity. Oh my, such words of division when what we need is goodwill among nations. In domestic news, American banks are facing a test with President Trump's call to cap credit card interest rates at 10%. While this might bring relief to many struggling with debt, something my heart certainly wishes for, the lack of clarity on implementation has left the financial industry uncertain about next steps. Remember, my friends, that true prosperity comes when we care for one another's well-being. Tragically, in Spain, investigators examining Sunday's devastating train derailment that claimed 39 precious lives have found a broken joint on the tracks. Technicians believe this faulty connection had been present for some time before widening into a dangerous gap. Let us hold the families of those lost in our thoughts tonight. With a more hopeful tone, I can share that U.S. lawmakers have announced a bipartisan spending deal providing funding for 2,500 new air traffic controllers and $2.4 billion for Amtrak. The agreement also includes money to study the Washington, D.C. airspace following last January's tragic crash. This cooperation shows that even in divided times, working together for safety remains possible. Finally, in Venezuela, following Nicolás Maduro's recent ouster, President Trump is pressing U.S. oil companies to invest $100 billion in the country's oil sector. However, companies like Chevron are proceeding cautiously, seeking stability before making such substantial commitments. The situation reminds us that rebuilding takes patience and care, not haste. As we close tonight's news, I encourage all of you to look beyond the headlines to see the humanity in each story. In every conflict zone, in every policy debate, in every economic challenge, there are children, families, and individuals just hoping for peace and security. May we all find ways, small or large, to bring more kindness into our world this night. Until tomorrow, this is Santa Claus, wishing you a blessed evening.